Okay, so welcome to week 11 and our final instructor session of the course. And so for this instructor session, I want to go over why we learn how to speak publicly, because I know that's on a lot of students' minds. They say, I've often heard students say, in my line of work, I'm not going to be doing speeches, so I don't understand why this is a component to the course. I'm going to go over that today, I promise. I'm going to go over the the aspects of developing these basic skills. I want to talk a little bit about visual aids, and then I really want to focus on how to submit your speech because I know a lot of students struggle with that. So I want to make sure that you completely understand it because your speech recording will be due in week 12, and it's imperative that you know how to submit that properly and that you get it submitted properly and on time because in week 12, once the course ends, I cannot accept further submissions. So I know in this course, I work with my students a lot on late submissions as much as possible, but in week 12, I'm not able to do that because once the course closes at 11:59 p.m. on the deadline of the course, then after that, I'm literally posting final grades because they have to get to your school for administrative purposes. So, it's imperative that you know how to properly submit, that you submit correctly because I don't have the ability to allow for late submissions or even resubmissions at that point. But first things first, let's dive into the aspects of public speaking. So let me start off by asking you this. Who do you think of as a great speaker? Now, that person might be somebody that you personally know. It could be a figure from history. It could be a celebrity, all of those different things. Now, it's often easy to think of who we think of as a great speaker, but the real question is why do you think they are a great speaker? You've probably never thought about that too much. So, there are a lot of practical benefits to learning public speaking skills. It will help you to develop numerous basic skills. You'll become more successful in your career because you have these public speaking skills, which are ultimately just really good communication skills. And you'll become just a more effective communicator as a whole, both in your professional and also your personal lives as well. So, public speaking can help you to learn a lot of different things, but a few things as far as basic skills go is it helps you to learn how to control communication anxiety. What do I mean by that? Well, communication anxiety is something that most people struggle with on some level. You might just have a little bit of anxiety when you're speaking in front of other people. Sometimes you have a lot of anxiety when speaking in front of other people. And I want you to know that that is the number one fear of most people is public speaking. So you're not alone on that, and it's something we can work on. So don't worry about that either. And I've got a lot of tips and tricks to help you with that in this instructor session. Learning good public speaking skills also helps you to learn how to present yourself at your best. First impressions are absolutely vital. So it's important that you learn how to present yourself and your thoughts clearly, effectively, in a formal and polished manner, in an organized manner, also that you can convey that message to the other person or the other people in a way that is both effective and productive. So, learning public speaking skills also helps you to learn how to read an audience and adapt your message, which is very important. And it also helps you to develop ethical sensitivity. A few other things that I like to note is that learning public speaking skills can help you to select subjects that your listeners will find interesting. We've talked about topic selection a lot in this course, and it's really important that you always consider your listeners when selecting a topic, especially when that's something that can be done. It's not always something that can be done. Sometimes topics are just given to you, but for the most part, when you can, try to choose something that interests your listeners. Learning good public speaking skills helps you to learn how to conduct responsible research. We've talked about that a lot this term too. In fact, we started talking about it in week 6 on the first portion of your speech project. So hopefully by now you're becoming more comfortable with research. Additionally, learning public speaking skills helps you to learn how to design, structure, and even outline a message to accomplish your overall goal. Now, we've talked about that, goodness, since at least week 8. I know we started talking about speech design, instructor, and so forth. So hopefully by now you're becoming more comfortable with that, especially after submitting the second and third parts of the project. And then learning public speaking skills helps you to learn how to use presentation aids effectively. A lot of times students don't realize it, but when they're doing their speech or a speech in a different course and they're using a visual aid, a lot of times they turn around and they talk to their visual aid the entire time instead of noting something from the visual aid and then addressing their audience. So that's something that we can work on with public speaking skills. Now, in this speech, this upcoming speech, which will be recorded in week 12, I don't want to see visual aids and so forth like that. What I want to see is you on the entire screen. Okay, I don't want to see your notes. I don't want to see anything like that. I just want to see you as a whole on the screen presenting your speech. Okay, so keep that in mind because that will go into your grading. I need to see you in the entire frame of the presentation, not your notes, not audio only recordings, you on the video presenting the speech. So learning basic public speaking skills also helps you to manage language so your words work for you. That's a skill. That's something that you kind of have to learn is how to manage your language. So those skills will help. And it also helps you to learn how to express your ideas in front of an audience or even in private with power, confidence, and passion. Now, how can learning effective speech techniques make you a more powerful and successful person? I like that question because when you have these skills, you are able to go in and ask for that promotion, or you're able to communicate in a job interview that you're ready for that position. And those public speaking skills are what come into play. And we learn that not only from the verbal side of things, but the nonverbal side of things. Did you know that according to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, effective communication skills were listed as one of the major things employers look at when hiring and promoting? Now, so you can see from this graph here that communication skills are vital to your success in the workplace and your success in gaining different positions and promotions and so forth. So that's why we work on that in this class. Public speaking skills can also help you to be more effective in your life and your career. That's something a lot of people don't really think about. Have you ever entered a situation in which you needed to introduce someone or inform someone on something, persuade them on something, or even demonstrate? Well, chances are you have, and you had to use these public speaking skills to convey that message. So let's say you're trying to persuade your boss at work for that, raise, then obviously that's where persuasion would come in. Maybe you are training a fellow employee or a colleague at work, then you're likely either speaking to inform or you're demonstrating. Now think of that situation as a whole. If you've ever been in that situation, do you think you were effective? Do you think there's anything you could have improved on? Well, effective public speaking skills can help you to better deliver your message, to present yourself and your ideas effectively, all while being an effective listener as well. Personal growth. Public speaking skills help you on a personal level as well. So they help you to learn how to put together speeches on topics that you care about. They help you to learn how to explore your own interests and values, expand your knowledge, and even develop your own voice on things. And a lot of people, I've heard students say over and over, I don't understand why I have to study public speaking. I can get up in front of people and talk all day long. I don't have a problem with that. Well, that's because there's a huge, huge difference between standing up in front of people and talking and delivering a speech publicly. Big difference, guys. So there's more to effective public speaking than just standing up and speaking in front of people. And I hope you've learned that so far. Public speaking has history. As far as as the history of public speaking is concerned, the Hebrews, the Greeks, the Romans, the great speakers of our time, and even, other people that you can think about have all used public speaking skills. And so there's a rich history there. There's also a difference between standing up in front of people and talking and public speaking, in that public speaking has more organization. It has a greater level of formality, all while making your purpose clear and still being interesting. Another benefit to learning public speaking skills is that it helps you to expand your cultural and diversity horizons. Audiences are diverse. They come from different races, religions, cultures, background, and we can all teach each other on that level. So that's something to consider when delivering speeches publicly. It also helps us to break barriers. So, two barriers I like to talk about is ethnocentrism and stereotypes. So, ethnocentrism is the tendency of any nation, race, religion, or group to believe that its way of looking at and doing something is the best way and everybody else has less value. So, when we work on these public speaking skills, we're working to overcome ethnocentrism and also stereotypes. We're working to overcome stereotypes in that, stereotypes is a generalized picture of a race, a gender, or a group that supposedly represents its characteristics. So by learning good public speaking skills, we're learning good communication skills, and we're breaking barriers in the process. Public speaking it's a powerful thing as well. So public speaking is an interactive process. Public speaking, by definition, is a speech that attempts to, it's a speech that's part of the interactive process that attempts to do some work on a specific occasion. So a public speech might work to introduce the speaker to the listeners. It might work to share knowledge with them, such as an informative speech, convince them of the rightness or wrongness of something, which is a persuasive speech, which is what you're working on and going to deliver in week 12. It might celebrate with them some special moment like a retirement or a graduation or a wedding. That would be a special occasion speech or a celebratory speech, either way. And in this class, we're working to persuade, and that's a technique you'll definitely need to have in your profession and in life as a whole. All right, so let's talk about public speaking anxiety, because I know that's a big one for a lot of my students. First of all, like I said early in the session, public speaking anxiety is the number one fear of most people, so know that. You're not alone. But when you develop skills to overcome anxiety, you can work through that. So when creating your speech, to help you with that, you want to consider the audience and the setting. That'll help you to adapt your message as best as possible. You'll want to choose a topic that's relevant, that you have enough information on, that isn't just repeating common knowledge. Instead, it's introducing new ideas. You'll want to consider your audience's sensibilities and abilities, and try your ideas out on others before delivering your speech in a certain setting. That'll help you to reduce anxiety a lot. Many experts actually recommend thinking of your speech as just a simple act of communication to help you deal with nervousness. So don't think about it as you standing up in front of all these people and speaking or delivering a message. Instead, think of it just as an act of communication, a one-way conversation with a group of people. And so we've talked a lot about organizing your thoughts and your ideas, and that can help with anxiety as well. So when you have a well-designed speech and you know the flow of it, that'll reduce that anxiety too. So we've talked about this a lot, but I just want to touch on it a little bit here. There are 3 parts to a speech: an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. So the introduction is comprised of 2 main things: the attention getter and the preview of main points. So with your attention getter, again, you want to use a story, a quote, a question, a fact, or a statistic. So you don't want to start your speech with, "Hi, my name is, and today I'm going to talk about." The very first thing you should say should either be a story, quote, question, fact, or statistic. From here, you'll preview your main points. That's why today I want to talk about whatever your main points are. That'll lead you into the body of the speech. That's where you'll dissect those main points and provide support for it. And then lastly, you'll have your conclusion. And so in your conclusion, you'll provide a signpost. In conclusion's fine. You'll summarize your main points, basically tell them what you told them, then end with a memorable statement. Again, memorable statements are just like attention getters. They're just at the end of your speech. So a story, quote, question, fact, or statistic works well for this as well. So in terms of public speaking, we have both the verbal and the nonverbal messages. I think a lot of times students tend to focus on the written part of the speech and forget about the nonverbal parts. So the content of the message is only part of the process. Nonverbal messages are just as important. All of our nonverbal behaviors, the gestures we make, the way we sit, how fast or slow or how loud we talk, how close we stand to each other, how much we make eye contact, all those things send strong messages. So you want to consider that when delivering a speech, because those nonverbal messages can convey a lot in your overall message. So always consider, what do these nonverbal messages convey to our audience? What happens when our verbal messages don't match our nonverbal messages? We've talked about that. And are nonverbal messages the same across cultures? Of course they're not. So you want to consider all those things when you're practicing your speech so that you've polished it up and you're ready for your audience. All right. Now, I like to call these the 7 deadly sins of public speaking, and these are things we want to avoid. So there are actually 7 of them for the most part. And the first one I want to talk about is failing to tell stories or making some kind of emotional connection to your audience. So it doesn't have to be a story in the speech somewhere, but you do need to make some kind of emotional connection with the audience. You want to make sure that they are understanding your speech on a personal level, because when you don't connect with the audience, they lose interest. The second one is using bullet points instead of pictures on slides. Yes, I know I'm doing that right now, but you need this information for your notes, and that's why I put all this stuff on the slides. But if you're using some type of visual aid, instead of plumping it up like I have here with a lot of verbiage, you should be using pictures instead. So that'll help. Now, in this class, again, I do not want visual aids on your persuasive speech. I just want you on camera delivering your speech. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see your notes, anything like that, just you on the camera. So the third deadly sin here is putting your audience to sleep because you insist on talking too long. So 18 minutes is ideal in a business situation. Obviously, your speech in this class is much, much shorter than that. But the point to this is, when you are given a time frame in which to speak, you need to work to actually speak in that time frame. Especially when you're at events or conferences or just in the professional world, because you've been allotted a certain amount of time, and anything that exceeds that is going to cut into someone else's time, or business time, whatever. The fourth point I want to make here is thinking about your slides as an afterthought. So if you are using a visual aid, you need to put those slides as a forefront thing and don't just throw something together last minute, because the audience will be able to tell. The fifth point is reading from your slides or reading from your visual aid as a whole instead of making eye contact with your audience. As a whole, don't read during your speech. Don't put that much information in your notes, and you won't be tempted to read. So you want to make sure you have just enough to trigger your memory if you need to get back on track with something, but you don't want to put your entire speech on your notes because you'll just read the whole time. And then the sixth and seventh points that I have here is not practicing and not practicing. You have to practice. You can practice on family and friends. You can stand in front of a mirror and practice, but you need to practice, because that's how you work on that verbal and nonverbal delivery. Okay, so again, how to deal with anxiety. Plan a compelling introduction. You want that attention getter, and then preview your main points. Visual aids can be used, not in this course, but that does help with anxiety. Kind of takes the focus off you a little bit at times. Don't read or recite. Deliver from your notes. When you're reading, you disengage with the audience, and that'll cause a lot of anxiety because you'll feel that disengagement. You want to also control your inner monologue. You want to think positive. You don't want to go into the situation and go, gosh, I'm so terrible at public speaking. I'm just going to do bad at this. Control that inner monologue and think positively. You also want to promote positivity with your audience. So make sure that you're staying positive and maintaining a positive self-image, and then think realistically about the assignment as well. So let's keep on talking about communication anxiety for another little bit because there's a few more things I want to add here. How would you define communication anxiety? Well, as a whole, communication anxiety is just unpleasant sensations you experience before or during a presentation. So why do we get this communication anxiety? I think it's important for you to understand that because when we understand it, we know what we're dealing with. Now, we experience communication anxiety because we open up ourselves to the scrutiny of others. But keep this in mind when you open yourself up like that, it can result in personal growth, self enhancement, and you can even be transformed. This anxiety can be transformed into positive nervousness. Sometimes the absence of that nervousness can make your audience think you're not passionate about the topic. So nervousness can actually appear to your audience as passion. So just something to keep in mind there. So what are some of the symptoms of communication anxiety? Well, let's start here. Anxiety, all it is an adrenaline rush. So when you're experiencing anxiety, you're just experiencing a rush of adrenaline. Now, there are ways to combat that. You probably won't have all the symptoms of communication anxiety that I'm about to talk about, but you'll probably have a few of them. And if you didn't have a few, it wouldn't be normal. So a bit of communication anxiety can actually be a good thing, and it can make you appear like you're just excited about the topic. So again, the absence of nervousness can give your audience the impression that you don't care. So think of it that way. If you have that little bit of edge about you, you just appear passionate about your topic. Now, you might be thinking, because this is what my students say sometimes, that you are scared of saying something stupid or sounding silly. We all do it. What's the worst that can happen if you say something and you miscommunicate it? Um, the worst that can happen is you just said it wrong. No big deal. And if that happens, just say, excuse me, and repeat what you meant to say. It's no big deal. We're all adults. The most anxiety we have about speaking publicly comes before the speech is actually taking place. So that's a lot of worry for nothing. And we actually call that anticipatory anxiety. This happens a lot when you first register for a class and you see that a speech is assigned, then you start to get that anticipatory anxiety. Understanding the cause of anxiety, though, can help you to cope with it, and that's why we talk about it here. So let's talk about just a few specific fears that I know students often worry about. A lot of times students worry that they're going to tremble or shake during a public speech. This is very common. It's not uncommon at all. In fact, it happens to most people. So in that situation, to reduce that trembling or shaking, excuse me, you can use gestures. So when you gesture and you're providing those movements, intentional, useful gestures, not fidgeting, then you're releasing that extra rush of adrenaline, which is what causes anxiety. And so you're working that trembling and shaking out of you. So just move around a little bit. Don't pace, don't fidget, use intentional gestures, and that'll help. If you're not sure how to use gestures, pay attention to your everyday conversations. You use gestures all the time, you just don't realize it. A lot of students are worried that their mind's going to go blank. Not to worry, we don't memorize speeches. We use something called extemporaneous delivery, and that's when we have prepared and practiced our presentation. We've jotted down keywords and phrases on note cards to help jog our memory. But And so each time we deliver the speech, the main points stay the same, but sometimes the information and how we give it changes up a little bit, and that's okay. We never want to write out our speech fully during a delivery because we're just going to read it. And we don't want to memorize it either because what happens if we forget just one or two words? Our mind's going to go blank. So instead, put some keywords and phrases on note cards and deliver the speech that way. Don't use your phone to read your notes. Don't use your computer to read your notes. Use some note cards. It'll help. Trust me. And then another thing that students are often worried about is that they're going to embarrass themselves in some way. What's the worst that can happen? If you embarrass yourself, what's the worst that can happen? You tremble or you shake. We talked about how to help with that. Use gestures. You forgot what you planned to say about something. No big deal. It's extemporaneous. You can look down at your note cards for a second and get back on track. If you mispronounce a word, if you need help, you can ask me ahead of time. I can tell you how to pronounce the word. Or, if you mispronounce a word just because you said it wrong, just say, excuse me, and restate the word. Happens to everybody. No big deal. I've also had students worry that the absolute worst is going to happen, that they're just going to be frozen and unable to continue talking. I'm not going to say this would never happen. I'm just going to say it's very, 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 very rare. It's never happened to any of my students, and I have taught thousands of students at this point in public speaking, not just for this college, but college and universities around the United States and even a few international. So that being said, if this should happen to you and you are my rare student, just take a moment to calm yourself down and you should be fine and just keep going. If you can, find a friendly face to look at for a second, and then that'll help you along to get through the rest of the speech. And remember that the speech will be over soon. Okay, so with all that being said, now I want to show you how to submit your speeches because that's going to be coming up in week 12. So let's talk about that real quick before we talk about your week 11 assignment. So I know I'm talking again a week early, but we don't have an instructor session scheduled for week 12, so I want to go ahead and go over this with you. All right. Okay, so what we're going to be doing in week 12 is actually recording and delivering the speech. And so once you record your speech, and let me stop there, you can record your speech on a webcam. You can record your speech on a website called screencast-o-matic.com. I'll show you that in just a second. Or you can record your speech on your phone, whatever works for you. From here, though, you'll upload it to youtube.com. Now, let me show you this real quick. This is called screencast-o-matic.com. And it's actually on the slide right here if you want to jot down that address. Okay. And if you want, you can visit this website and record your speech on there and then upload it to youtube.com. It's some students like to do that. It's not necessary. You could just record it on your phone or your computer and then upload it to youtube.com. Either way is fine. But if that's what you want to do, then you would go to, this is what the main page looks like. So you'd have to create an account. You don't need to, you'd start recording for free. You don't have to pay for anything. Once you create an account, you'll click My Videos. I'm actually using Screencast-O-Matic at the moment, so I don't want to duplicate it, but you would just click Launch Recorder here, and you'd click a big red button that says Record. Okay? Now, for most of my students, though, they just want to record it however on their computer or on their phone and then just upload it to YouTube, which I think is probably the easiest method for students. So if you want to skip that other part, that's fine with me. So let's say that you have recorded your speech and you're ready to upload it. Now, this is important, so listen. You cannot upload the video in the course as a whole. Okay, it's just going to kick you out. Your video is going to be too large. I get students all the time that do not listen to the sessions that I hold, and they say, I don't understand. I can't submit my video. It just keeps saying it's too large. It's because you're not following the directions. You have to submit it to youtube.com, and then that way you just submit your video link in the course. Okay? If you try to submit the whole video in the course, it's going to be too large. You can't do that. You have to upload it to a platform like youtube.com and then submit the link to me in the course. Now, let me show you how to do that. So let's say you've got your speech recorded. It's on your computer, your phone, whatever. You're going to go to youtube.com. If you don't have an account, you'll have to create one. It's free, no big deal. Once you do that, you're going to click on this camera up here with the plus sign. Okay, so we're going to do that real quick. You're going to choose Upload Video. You're going to click Select Files. And you're going to choose a file to upload, okay? Now, I'm just going to choose one of these random files real quick just to show you how it works, all right? Okay, so you'll want a title up here for the video. The only other thing that's required is down here, it makes you say now if it's the audience is for kids or not. I just put yes because it's, unless you have some reason why a kid can't watch your speech, I don't know. I just put yes and it just helps. Then I click next. You don't have to change anything on the screen. Okay, leave it all alone. In fact, just a reminder, very important information, so listen up. Just a reminder that you cannot edit or enhance your video in any way. We are not in a classroom, therefore we cannot stand in front of each other and do a real-time speech. So we have to make this as real as possible through some kind of virtual thing here. So when you add edits or you enhance your speech to make it prettier or nicer or whatever, it's not a real public speaking situation. So I need you to submit your video as a raw video. You cannot edit videos together. You cannot edit out portions of your video. You cannot enhance your video in any way with music and all this other cool stuff that y'all like to do. I need a raw video beginning to end of you delivering the speech. If it has edits, it will receive a 0. The reason we do that is because in a real world setting, you cannot edit yourself. And that's what we're striving for here, is to learn how to speak publicly in a real world situation. So edits would not happen in a real world situation. Don't submit an edited video. All right, so going back here, once you get to this screen, you'll click next, and it's going to ask you how you want the security setting on the video. Do not choose private. I'm going to say that again. Do not choose private. If you choose private, I cannot access your speech. And again, if I cannot access your speech for grading, then I will have to issue you a 0 for the speech because I have nothing to grade. You will not have time to resubmit your speech or correct the issue because the course will be closed and I have to submit your grades to your school. All right. Instead, you can choose unlisted or public. If you don't feel comfortable with your video listed as public, you can put it as unlisted. And what that means is only people who you share the direct link to your video with will be able to access your speech. It's not searchable on youtube.com. So if you feel more comfortable with unlisted, that's fine. If you want to list it as public, that's fine. Never list it as private. So once you choose that, and I'll just choose public here, you would click publish. I don't want to do that because I don't want to publish this because it would be a duplicate video. So I'm just going to X out. Okay. And I'll delete that at a later time. So now, once your speech is uploaded, it'll let you know that the process is finished. It'll take you back to this screen. Obviously, you won't have as many videos as I do. I'm an instructor, so I record videos all the time. So, but once you do, it'll take you to this screen, and you will hover right here and click the button that has the play button on it. Okay? So once your speech is uploaded, it'll show up here. You'll click the play button. All right? I'm going to show you where to grab that link from. So it'll show you your video. You do want to watch it and make sure that I can clearly hear and see you before you submit. When you're ready to submit, you'll click share and you will click copy to copy that address, okay, that web address. Now, from here, you'll go back to the course. So this is our course. You'll go to modules. You'll scroll, excuse me. You'll scroll down to week 12. Okay. You'll click on the week 12 project, speech delivery. And you will actually, there it is up there. You will take that link you just copied and put it on a Word document. Okay. Save that to your computer, which I'm not going to do right now. Go back to the course. You'll click Submit. You'll browse for the file that has your youtube.com link in it. And then once you find it, you'll click Submit Assignment. Okay? So it's as easy as that. So again, we just went to youtube.com. We clicked on the camera with the plus sign. We clicked Upload Video. We chose the video that we wanted to upload. Again, I'm just choosing a video. You've got the title. We'll scroll down. You'll put yes or no, it's made for children. Yes is probably what you want to put. Click Next. Leave all this the same. Click Next. Put it to either public or unlisted, never private. Public, and click Publish. Okay. Once it's done, okay, I'm going to cancel that because I don't want it on here. Once it's done, you'll see it listed here. You click the play button. Watch your video and make sure you can clearly see and hear yourself. Click Share, Copy, open up a Word document. Obviously, that wouldn't be on there yet. Blank Word document. Paste your link there. Save it to your computer. You'll go into the course. I'm going to go back out so you can see. I'll just click modules from here. That'll be fine. You're going to go into our course. You're going to scroll down to week 12. Click it. Click Submit Assignment. You'll browse for that document that you just saved. I'm just going to not choose anything and then click Submit Assignment. And that's it. Because it's easy as that. All right. So with that being said, let's take a look real quick at that's it for week 12, as far as your speech goes. So that's how you would submit it. Now, if you run into any questions, let me know. I will say that it can take some time to upload to youtube.com, so I would not wait until 10 o'clock the day of the deadline, 10 p.m. to submit your speech, because sometimes videos can take hours to upload to YouTube. Sometimes they take a very short amount of time. Sometimes they take a really long amount of time. Sometimes you have computer issues, internet issues, whatever. I would suggest getting that submitted early in the week, so if there are any issues, they can be addressed before the lesson closes. Now, always pay attention. I do want to show you this one thing. Always pay attention to the deadlines listed up here on the assignments, especially in the last week of the course. So this course closes Friday night, not Sunday, Friday night at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. So you will need to have in week 12, not week 11, obviously, which we're in now, but next week, you'll need to have all of these things completed by Friday night, not Sunday. Okay? The course will be closing, or it will close Friday night at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time. By a little after midnight, I will be posting final grades because they have to get to your school on time. So there will be no extra time to complete assignments. If they're late, they receive a 0 in week 12, okay? All right, so let's talk about week 11 because that's our current week. So just kind of breezing through this real quick. We'll click on the week 11 overview. You've got your summary, the objectives we hope you are able to accomplish by the end of the week. We click next. We have your week 11 reading, so it tells you what you should be reading. Next. It's where you access your e-textbook. So all this is like normal. And you click next. You've got your interactive lecture. You click on that. It'll populate in a different window for you. And you'll just click next to go through it. We're going to click next. You've got your discussion. The discussion will be the normal dates and times this week, but again, in week 12, it will be much earlier. The course closes on Friday, not Sunday. If you wait until Sunday to submit, it's too late. The course is closed. Final grades have been posted. All right, so for your initial post, you need to address this. For your reply post, you need to address this. We'll click next. We've got the week 11 instructor session. Obviously, once this recording is complete, I'll post it here for you. And if you have any problems uploading to YouTube, you can play that video and go step by step with me on the video, uploading your own, okay? And then that moves us into week 12. So we're all done with that. All right, so if you have any questions, reach out to me. Again, don't forget that the course closes in week 12, not on Sunday, but on Friday, so that's important. Get your stuff submitted early. I would say you need to start submitting your speeches by Wednesday, just in case you have any issues come up. Because again, the deadline for the course will not be extended for any reason. If you submit your speech and your speech doesn't work on my end, I don't have time to give you a resubmission if you waited until Friday to submit. Okay, so with that being said, enjoy the week, and if we don't speak again before, my best wishes on your future endeavors. Thank you so much. Have a great week.